Welcome to Sew Very Easy. My name is Laura, and today let's make a water-resistant, food-safe, soft, and yet easy little drawstring bag. And while we're at it, let's make it lined. The fabric that I'm going to use today is called Splash fabric. It is 100% cotton with a laminate on the top, which makes this water-resistant. It's food-safe. It's soft. You can wash it if you need to. However, you can just wipe it clean, and you can iron it if you need to, but please iron it on that cotton side. Now the fabric is 58 inches wide. So from selvage to selvage, we have 58 inches. However, there's only 56 usable inches, because there is a little bit here in the selvage where the laminate has not come right to the edges. So we will not be able to use those selvages. So think of the fabric as 56 inches wide. Now I do have some of this lovely green left over from a project, and I'm going to make a little bag. It's a little cinch bag, so it's going to have a drawstring and be closed. So from that fabric, I am going to need a piece of fabric 52.5 inches long by 10 inches. So it's going to be one long piece. So I'm going to have that long piece and a little piece left over. This little piece left over, we're going to turn it into a pocket. And this fabric does not fray, so we can use it just the way it is. But I do like the look of just a little hem on my pocket. So I'm just going to fold that over about 1/4 of an inch and stitch down. So I'm going to still have that 10 inches, just this little approximate 4-piece with that little hem. To sew with this, we can use an all-purpose thread, and I would recommend using a Schmetz non-stick needle. Now that we have the pocket done, let's put some marks on the back of the fabric. So I have that one long piece of fabric, and I'm going to fold it in half. Fold that and put a mark along that edge. I'm going to fold it together and just put a mark on each edge. Come down from that line and draw a line at 13 inches. And go down and draw another 13-inch line. And when I draw that line, I should have 1/4 inch on the end. And that's exactly what I'm looking for. So repeat on the other side. These little 1/4 inches are going to be a seam allowance. My fading marker is fading too quickly, so I will use something that you can see. So I have my first 13-inch line, and I want to draw a line 1 inch over from the center. So I have 2 inches right here, and go up 1/2 inch. I have this little piece here. I want to transfer the same mark onto this side. So I have that straight line and then that little area. And I want to do that to both of those sides where the mark is coming from that short edge up to 13 inches. So this is how that end is going to look. Snip the fabric right here and here. So we have that little flap. Is just do a row of stitching to hold that down. And we're going to do that to each one of these little spots that we made. So we're going to have 4 little flaps that look just like this. These areas that we trimmed out are going to be the areas that we're going to put the string in to make that a drawstring bag. So we're going to fold it on this line. I prefer not using pins, so I'm just going to clip those edges together. And I want to sew a straight line coming right there in that area that we cut out. So I'm going to be sewing right there from that cutout, straight over, right to there. And I just like the look of doing one row right along the top of stitching. And you can back stitch on each end. We're going to do that to both the sides. So we have that long piece of fabric with those little ends in, and that's an opening that goes from side to side. So this area will be the outside of the bag. These ends will be the inside of the bag. So on one inside part of the bag, we need to add that pocket. The top part of the pocket will face the little casing. Just find a nice place to put that on and stitch those 3 sides and maybe a stitch down the center to hold that on. Now if you want a second pocket, of course you can add it on. But now we're going to be able to sew this together. So take it, fold it in half. We're going to have a little opening where we did that little casing. And I like to put one going in one direction and one in the other. And that way they just sit nice and flat together. So I can feel that they're nice and close. And pin those edges together. Match up those seams. Smooth this down. And we should be at that 13-inch mark. Now we're going to do a little treatment on the bottom to make the bottom sit flat. And to do that treatment, we're going to push this seam inside, so this is going to come down. So I'm doing a 1.5 inch mark, turn it around and do another 1.5 inch mark. Now you can do 1 inch, 2 inches. When you see how this is finished, it'll give you a good idea on the size that you want. Now I'm going to push the center in, and I'm going to match up those 2 seams. So I have a little fold in those corners. Now it's sewing time. This little opening is 1/2 inch. So we can do a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I would recommend to push this down and put a mark with your pencil where you can feel that that is. And that way I know I'm not going to stitch on that side, just on this side. And you're going to be able to feel that. So I'm going to be careful and make sure that I stay on that side. So I'm going to back stitch, stitch down, go over this seam, come all the way down, and in this area, I'm just going to stitch this curve and come anywhere between 1 or 2 inches. And I'm going to do the same to the other side. That curve is not important. It's just going to make that smoother in the bottom of the bag. So stitch, back stitch, and if you'd like, just stitch off. So I've stitched around, I've just turned a gentle corner, I've stitched, and then I've stitched off. So I have an opening and gentle curves. You could just trim off this little point just to make it softer. Now turn this whole thing right side out. So that one end that we did that fold, this is what that end is going to look like. So you can see that 1.5 inch gave me a 3-inch bottom. So if you want a bigger bottom, you can make that adjustment when you are tucking that in. So this is the outside of the bag. This is the inside of the bag, but we do need to close that up. Fold that in, and it's only going to be a tiny 1/4 inch little seam, and stitch this closed. Now that little end is stitched, we're going to be able to put that bag together. So just push that inside of the bag. So when we look inside, we have the pocket. The bag is going to be 3 inches wide. We have the casing up at the top. So that bag is about 10 inches before we hit that casing. Now we're going to be able to put a drawstring in. And we're going to need 2 pieces of ribbon or string at about 20 inches apiece. And the 2 pieces will be going into the bag. So the 2 ends are going to come out the one side, and the 2 ends are going to come out the other side. So we're going to take and put this through, pass it around, go all the way so that it's coming out in this direction, inside, of course, that casing. This one is going to do the same, but this time it's going to go through here, go around, slip into the other side, and come out. So if this was clear, this is what it would look like inside. So we're able to pull that. So let me get those in. The last thing is to tie those ends together. And the bag is now done. So this was really a fun, quick little bag to make. We only started with that one long piece of fabric, and it's lined with a pocket. And because I did use the splash fabric, it's food safe and it's water resistant, and it's nice and soft at the same time. I'll put some links in the description so that you can check out the fabric and perhaps make yourself a little clinch bag. Thank you for joining me today on Sew Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and I do have a newsletter. It's all free under Sew Very Easy. And be sure to make every day a Sewtacular day. Bye for now.